Greetings and welcome to the Wealth Management RPA Fast Chat. My name is Fred Barstein, contributing editor for Wealth Management's RPA Edge Omnichannel and CEO at TROW, TPSU, and 401k TV. Today, we are talking with Mike Doulahan, Putnam Investments Director of DCIO Content and Sales Enablement. Mike, thanks for joining today.
Fred, it's just absolutely my pleasure to be back with you again, and thank you for the opportunity.
Great. So a couple of questions. What are the three takeaways from Secure 2.0 that RPAs should be focused on right now?
Such a good question. And, I guess I would even wonder, is it takeaways that we should focus on or opportunities? I guess it's a little bit of both. These takeaways create opportunities. I think clearly the auto enrollment, auto escalation provision creates a very interesting takeaway, which is, does that create almost a universal plan review opportunity? Because if all these new plans are going to be required to have auto enrollment and auto escalation, does that make some of the plan design of previous plans a little bit stale? And so does that create a great opportunity for the RPA to say, hey, look, a lot of these newer plans are going to be very modern plan design. So Mr. and Mrs. Plan Sponsor, it would be a great time to review your setup to make sure the plans near you are not going to be more competitive than yours. And I think the second takeaway that's so interesting, Fred, is this whole issue. I think it was originally Abbott Laboratories that helped make this happen, but with this student loan repayment situation, if you do make a payment, it's now going to trigger as if it was a contribution to the plan for employer match purposes. Well, what's the opportunity there? Well, you don't have to go far to see research that tells us that roughly 50% of the workforce is made up of millennials and Gen Zs. And guess what, Fred? That's where all the student loan debt is. So the opportunity, I think, is for RPAs to talk to plan sponsors about how it might be easier than ever or better than ever from a wellness standpoint. So now you can combine plan design with wellness, get it all together. But from a wellness standpoint, to talk about why this is such a big deal, especially for these two newest generations in the workforce that, thanks to the debt issue, may not be as well as some of the other generations from a financial standpoint. And then, I would say also the takeaway around startup credits, right? That's obviously a big one. And there, I think you need to look beyond Secure 2. And you got to look at this intersection between these state mandates to offer workplace plans with the credits that are offered in Secure 2, because as those two things intersect, you're going to have RPAs having the ability to talk to every business owner they can find and assess, as we mentioned earlier, is their plan design modern? Make sure about that. But in many cases, if they don't have a plan, they're now going to be able to choose, wait a minute, should I do nothing and pay a penalty to my state that offers a mandate? Should I go ahead and join the state plan, which, as we know, is only an IRA chassis? Or should I do a private sector 401k, Fred, and end up being able to really have it for free, so to speak, in terms of administrative costs, at least for the first 3 years. So Secure 2.0 is exciting, Fred. I know you and I have been around the business together for at least 15 years when I joined DCIO, and it's always been lots of opportunities we've seen, but I think it's more exciting than ever.
Great. And so, with that, you've been around for a long time, and, now in your new role, you can focus on the greatest needs today of RPAs, because it is changing, and how Putnam is addressing them.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. Thanks for that. I think the good news is what's old is new again. I think we've got the earlier part of our conversation showing that there's clearly growth opportunities for RPAs. And, what RPA needs or wants to grow? Well, pretty much all of them, because what's the old phrase, right? If you're not growing, you're dying, you're stagnating, however you like to use that phrase. And so what we would say is that we stand by ready to help RPAs grow, Fred, not with product, but with value add ideas. And it doesn't matter if the RPA, maybe they've brought on one of those next gen advisors, Fred, and that next gen advisor needs help with modern prospecting techniques, we can help there all day long. But maybe they have got their prospecting part down with maybe a record keeping partner has already helped them there. Well, now maybe they need networking help because, Fred, maybe that next gen or maybe even the long-term RPA, maybe they're not just quite as tight on LinkedIn because some RPAs, Fred, let's face it, they built their successful business way before LinkedIn was even a thing. But now when you talk to them about the LinkedIn opportunities, it's like giving ice cream to a kid. They're just so excited about the things they can do with LinkedIn. So we can help with prospecting. We can help with networking largely through LinkedIn. Or what if you've got that under control or we help you get it under control? Now, you need to sound different. You got to separate yourself from this sea of sameness out there and sound different than the RPA down the street or across town. And we think how you do that is that you become a plan design expert. It's kind of funny, Fred. It ties right back to where we started. How do you become a plan design expert? Well, you look at the provisions of something like Secure 2.0. You let the financial press talk about the provisions. You instead lead with the opportunities. And there we can help consult, not just from the prospecting standpoint, from the networking standpoint. We can also come alongside the RPAs to be a plan design consultant.
Thanks, Mike. That's all the time we have for today. I've been talking with Mike Dullahan, who is the Director of DCIO Content and Sales Enablement. Thanks for joining us today, Mike. And thanks for watching Wealth Management RPA Fast Chat.
Thanks, Fred.